Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Jane McGuinness. She is a registered clinical counselor and author of Always Hungry: How I Lost the Weight and Found Myself. And we learned from her about her lived experience with emotional eating, size discrimination, and long term weight loss maintenance. We'll talk about all that, also learn about her particular motto: why a day without laughter is a day wasted. Welcome to the show, Jane.
Thank you, AJ. It's lovely to be here.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show, Jane. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about emotional eating, we'll talk about body image, and we'll talk about how one can find themselves the way you found yourself. We'll talk about all this. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, your story, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, yeah, my journey started in Australia in an outback mining town a very long time ago and culminated here in Vancouver, where I'm living at the moment. And, I also in the book not only share my experience of recovering from an emotional eating disorder and healing my body, which I learnt needed to be an inside job. I needed to heal inwardly before I could heal from the emotional eating, figure out why I was eating when I wasn't hungry, what was really going on, because I did have a very disordered relationship with food. That happened. And I also then navigated a divorce with 3 small children. So I share that. The book is also Always Hungry. It's also a story of my transformation and finding out who I am as a woman through the separation and the divorce, as I was navigating not only the weight loss and healing my body, but then also life after divorce. What does that look like when you've got young children in a foreign country? I had to figure out who I was. So it was most certainly a hugely transformational journey that continues today.
Right, Jane. Right. So, what is it that you are saying and doing right now? What is it that you want the world to know about what you are saying, what you are doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, thank you. That's a great question. Well, I'm currently working on my second book, but the reason I wrote this book and I wanted to share with people is because when I was in a much larger body, not only did I struggle with trying all of the ridiculous diets that are out there that don't work, that I don't believe can ever be a long-term solution because they don't address the core problems. For a lot of people, when they are in a larger body, and not for everybody, but this, I speak for myself, I know through my lived experience, through work with clients, often we're not in a larger body because we have these huge insatiable appetites for food. We're eating for so many other reasons. We're eating emotionally because we're under stress, or we're sad, or we're worried. So we often head to the kitchen or the refrigerator or the pantry, and we're snacking without any awareness of whether we are hungry, of whether we might be full and we've just eaten and we're bored. There are so many reasons that people eat that have nothing to do with physical hunger. Now, I know I needed to heal my body by figuring out what those reasons were and look at why I was eating when I wasn't hungry. And so I wrote this book for a few reasons. I wanted people to know you can heal. If you choose Ozempic, that type of thing, I respect everybody has a different path and I don't judge anybody, but that wasn't my path. I started walking. I just started healing my body by recognizing when I was physically hungry and eating real, good, healthy food. I do believe in eating just whole food, unprocessed food. I love to cook from scratch and I love food. We can still enjoy food and lose weight in a sensible, slow, sustainable way. So I very much reject the diet culture, the quick fix. We're sold all of these ridiculous diets that they say, you'll magically cure your life in 30 days if you just drink this or eat that, which doesn't work, of course, because it doesn't address, for most people, the problems in here, the reasons that they ended up comfort eating, maybe when they were sad, ended up in a larger body that had absolutely nothing to do with having huge appetites. And so I figured that out, and I called the book Always Hungry because I was hungry, but it was never for food. I realized I was under stress, I was anxious, I was hungry for calm in the body, peace and quiet. Now, of course, travel and adventure and this next stage of my life as I write my next book. So I'm hungry for life. Was never hungry for food. I just had to figure out what was missing. And for a lot of people, it's love. They're hungry for love, and food can be, for some people, a great substitute in the short term. Problem is, in the long term, they just wind up in a very unhealthy state in the body if we're using food as a substitute for love, which a lot of people do. So I had to get to the bottom of that. And then, of course, then I had to write about it because I thought people need to know this. There's a lot of people who might be where I was 15 years ago.
Right, Jane. So when did you realize that all this eating, all these things, you have to put an end to it? Did any particular thing happen, any incident, anything, or it was self-realization one
Uh,
fine morning? Help us understand then. How did you look at it and how did you start working your way out of it?
yeah, that's a great question because I married young after university and had 3 children. And it was actually after the birth of my 3rd child. So my eldest child is on the spectrum is neurodivergent with autism and wasn't diagnosed. So I had my eldest child, everybody just thought they were naughty, they were a difficult child. Which is really incredibly sad because it wasn't diagnosed. It was much later. So I had 3 small children, a new baby, and I was lacking energy. I was very overweight in a much larger body. And I didn't feel good. I realized, I looked in the mirror after this, not long after coming out of hospital, after having my 3rd child, and I realized I need to do something. Like I tried all of the diets, nothing had worked. And I thought, okay, I need to get to the bottom of this and I need to heal permanently for life. I wanted to live for myself and my children. I wanted to set an example of health for them because I love exercise now. I love being active with them. They're all grown now. That was nearly 18 years ago, the birth of my 3rd child. And I thought, okay, I need to do this for myself, but also for them, because I respect that some people are happy and comfortable in a larger body, and that's wonderful if they are, but that wasn't my experience. Like, I was lacking energy, I was anxious, I was tired. I knew I needed to take control of my health because my weight was continuing to climb. And to be honest, I didn't want to die. Thought I need to live, and I wanted to. So that was when I started to make small sustainable changes. I started walking again, just getting exercise that I enjoyed, nothing crazy, just started every day doing a little bit. And then I also started reading Janine Roth's books that came out in the 90s and early 2000s, like Breaking Free from Emotional Eating. Her book that one in particular was incredibly helpful in helping me to really start to address the reasons behind the eating that had nothing to do with hunger. Like why, when I was under stress, I was going to the kitchen to bake a cake or a cheesecake. I mean, that's why I put a cheesecake on the cover, because there's a funny story in here about the problem I had with baking. It was just balance. I still bake now. It's just that I'll have one piece. And I obviously am not baking cheesecake every day because it wouldn't be healthy. So my Substack is called All Things Moderation. And I called it All Things Moderation. And I post every Sunday about all things emotional eating because I believe absolutely nothing should be forbidden. But I think certain foods are meant to be treats. They're not meant to be enjoyed every day. So obviously I'm not eating a cheesecake every day. That wouldn't be healthy. So, but I believe we can still enjoy that as part of a healthy, balanced diet. It's just in moderation, which might be a very boring word for some people, but it works. And I've kept the weight off now for over 10 years because I just stay active and eat real food and feel my feelings. That's another thing I think people, when they're learning, when they're healing the body, learning to sit with those feelings instead of escaping and going and comfort eating if they're feeling sad. So now if I'm hungry, I eat. And if I'm sad, I sit there and feel sad. And I let myself feel that and process that. And ultimately it passes and we heal.
Right, right, Jane. So once you realize that you have to, make those changes, you started walking, you just started doing a few more things, and it started working for you. Means, how? Tell us something that people can understand it in their ways, and they can actually get the maybe not the same type of results, but almost like your type of result, and start losing weight. You said diets, you left them. Others will also try to understand. Any particular plan that you followed that others can also follow as per
Yeah.
your thing, Jane?
Sure. I mean, I absolutely think, well, with regard to exercise, I do believe that it's important. We're meant to move the body. I mean, unless there is some kind of physical reason, your doctor said you can't. I do believe it's important to find something that's fun. I love to ski now and hike and mountain bike. But what I had to do, I mean, I've always loved walking. So for myself, it was in a much larger body at the time. Walking was a great place to start, and now I do more. But I think for people, it should be a fun thing, not a chore. If they don't like going to the gym, then don't go. Go and find. Some people might decide, oh, I love swimming, or there's yoga. There are so many other ways we can move the body. So I believe that finding something you love is really important. And the other key that I help clients with, so this is a little bit of the psychology behind emotional eating that's very, very important. And I'd like to share this because a lot of people aren't aware that interoceptive awareness, which is basically, in layman's terms, just figuring out like how we're feeling in the body. If we are physically hungry, if we're full, if we're feeling sad, anxious, happy, whatever's going on in here, like from the neck down. Often people are up here in the mind spinning, but they don't have any awareness of what's happening here in the body. And that's where interoceptive awareness is essential. Now, I had to learn that. I help clients with that now, because basically when we're healing our relationship with food, before we eat anything or head to the kitchen for a snack, we need to slow down. We need to ground the body and actually figure out, okay, am I physically hungry? So figuring out, okay, do I need food? And then looking at, okay, if the answer is yes, what is going to be a healthy option that nurtures the body? Believe we need to sit when we eat. It's respectful for us and the food. We shouldn't be, so many of us, of course. I mean, I did this 2 years ago. You stand in the pantry or the fridge and you're snacking. You can eat a lot without any awareness. We're not present. We're in there, our mind's spinning. Maybe we're worried about something that happened yesterday. And so a lot of mindless eating happens. So coming back to being mindfully present is essential. Just getting back to that space of awareness in the body. The other thing is, and I didn't know this years ago either until I learned it, because I went back to school through my divorce and then did some graduate studies in psychology to become a psychotherapist. And what I learned was that often when we're in that state of dysregulation, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, the sympathetic nervous system is activated. So we're already up here in this heightened state when we're emotionally eating, when we're snacking, like when we're just, people rush about. There's no calm in the body. And so I had to learn, and again, I help clients with this. We need to bring back, get to that space of engaging the parasympathetic nervous system. So we just start to feel calm in the body. We start to feel regulated again in that rest and digest space where we can then make calm decisions around food. So that's another thing that I would encourage people, and I do share this. There's a ton of anecdotes. This is very raw and honest in here. I share what I've learned, and certainly sharing more of it in the next book, because I do want to help people. There is a way out of emotional disordered eating, and there's a way to heal the body without doing some kind of extreme diet where I think we've all done it. You can crash and lose 40 pounds and then you gain it back the next month, because people think, well, I'll do it for now and then I can go back to eating and doing what I did in the past. But there's no real healing from in the body. And I believe for myself, and this is what I've seen with clients, long-term healing, it takes time. We need to be patient. And we also need to heal from within to be able to heal externally.
Absolutely, Jane. What about, you talk about finding yourself. So, what about how did you start finding yourself in this whole process? When did it start happening? How did you feel that it started happening? And when did you fully find yourself, if at all that has happened?
Sure. Certainly through the separation and divorce, we'd moved to Canada. We'd been here for a few years at that point. Was a work transfer with my ex-husband. So we moved over here from Australia. The children were young. And as I was healing my body, I was losing the weight. And at the same time, of course, the weight came off. And then, I went through, honestly, what was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, which was the separation and divorce. I mean, I would say that was so much harder than the weight loss, because we didn't have family support here. Children were very young. I was struggling with anxiety for a long time. And as I healed that, I did begin to find myself as a woman and figure out what I wanted in this next stage of my life. And this was my late 30s, about a decade ago now. And I really, really had to figure out, okay, who am I? Deal with the anxiety. I overcame the anxiety disorder. So then step into my own confidence and power as a woman. And of course, then I was a single mother to 3 little kids. I went back to school. I needed a career because I'd been a stay-at-home mother. After university, I married young and had the children. So I found myself through my work professionally, and I went back to school, became a psychotherapist, and then decided to write this book, and now figured out what I love, what I want to do in this next stage of my life. And of course, I realized I want to help people who might be where I was 10 or 20 years ago. And I would help them with their emotional eating disorders, because I know what it feels like to feel trapped in the body, to feel like you're always going to be that way. And I want to let people know that there's a way to heal that's really kind and respects and loves the body. And we can heal, and we can make changes that are permanent. We can keep the weight off, but we have to be gentle and recognize it'll take time, but and we can do the work. And that's absolutely.
Absolutely. There's so much to learn about all this from you, Jane, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you. What's the best way for them to do so?
Sure. Thank you for asking. So they can go to janemcguinnesstheauthor.com. They can also go to all of my socials, Jane McGuinness the author, on Instagram, TikTok, on Substack, and Facebook. Substack is All Things Moderation. And they can go to Amazon. Audible also has, I narrated my audio version. So if they like Audible, that's there. The ebook is there, and Barnes and Noble, all of the retailers. I mean, Amazon, of course, is a bookshop, and or they can go straight to janemcguinnesstheauthor.com, and there's a link to my email there. If they'd like to reach out, they're very welcome.
Wonderful. With this, it's set up on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.